Hi guys, I think we're live. Yeah, we're live. Okay, cool. I have my client Corey here with me today. I'm super excited for her to share her process, her transformation journey with you guys, because this girl, I'm telling you, she's a badass. And the reason she's a badass is because she's literally just been taking my video trainings of like what I teach in my program, and she's been doing everything on her own. Like I'll step in if I need to, like if she needs me or has any questions, we'll hop on a call. But other than that, she's just been watching my training, doing the homework, applying it to her life, and letting the transformation unfold. And it's just been amazing. I am super excited to share her process and kind of how she's done it, so that you guys can get some ideas or maybe some tips and tricks from where she's gone and where she is now and how she got there, because I think a lot of you here can relate to where she was when she first started with me and would love to be experiencing what she's experiencing now. So without further ado, thank you, Corey, for coming live and doing this with me. I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited about everything.
Yeah, look at your little puppy.
This is Bandit. My little lap buddy.
He's so cute. He's so tiny.
Yes.
I love it. So if you don't care, I would like for you to share a little bit about where you were. So kind of get into the mindset of where you were before we started working together, right when we first met, and like what was kind of going on. What was your emotions, your moods, and your experiences like?
Let's see. I think when I first started talking to you, I was in a very toxic environment. I was in a very toxic relationship. I was not myself. I couldn't hear my own voice. I couldn't think straight. And when I finally got out of that relationship and was able to finally hear myself again, I recognized that I needed to heal a lot of that trauma that I had experienced. And I found one of your videos on, I don't remember which multitude of groups it was that you were in, but found one of your videos and started talking with you and started realizing that I needed to make changes in my life. And so I was really depressed. I was directionless. I was just going through the motions of getting through each day. And some days I'd come home and cry, and some days I'd just veg out on TV and not do anything. Some days it was really hard getting through a lot of that. But once I started like actually listening to who I am and hearing my voice, I started realizing that it's not as bad as I think it is.
Yeah.
And that I can't overcome this. And so I started working with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the beginning too of our time, there was some resistance, I remember. And it took us, I think it took us about a month for us to like just surrender and like let it happen. Yeah. But you did what you could. You got on with me at the level that you could financially, and when it came like to time management, you're very busy, you're working a lot, and you knew you needed to do something, and you enjoyed the way that I kind of teach in a self-healing manner, where it's like you learn how to go inside your mind and find that voice of yours. It's like, I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm showing you how to find out how you feel yourself and get it out and lead yourself, but sometimes we need a little bit of direction on even how to do that. Right. So it's right. Like, it can be confusing. So, but you did what you could do. And I'm super excited. We just created your schedule, and you got the ball moving, because the thing with you was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically you knew what to do. You knew a lot of the stuff that you wanted to go through, but your mood and your energy levels were just not where they needed to be to get you to do it. So it's like the motivation and the passion. It's like we knew we loved things, right? We knew we had things that we enjoyed, but we just had no passion or motivation to do it because the energy levels were just so drained. We didn't even know where to start. And again, like you said, there was just no direction. And that uncertainty drove our mood down even more. So then it was just like, all right, where's Netflix? Where's my stuff? Like, I'm just gonna have sweets and salt and sweet and TV, and I'm not gonna think about this process, right? And then we find ourselves a couple of months later, we're like, Jesus Christ, half the year is gone. What have I been doing?
Where has the time gone? Yep, definitely.
Yes, I totally understand, and I have definitely been there. I've let a year or so pass by doing that myself. So I totally understand. And before you started working with me, was there anything that you tried before this self-healing program? Did you try any therapy or medications or do anything on your own before you started with me for the depression?
I was on medication for a long time. But I had stopped taking it because I didn't feel like it was doing anything. Because I'd been on it for so long, and it was one of those, like, I didn't want to just keep increasing my dose, because that just keeps me in that state of dysfunction. It's like, I don't want to be taking a pill in order to figure out what's going on with me. And I've been in therapy a couple of different times. And that's helped while I'm working with that particular therapist, but then you move on to, move somewhere, or they need to move on for whatever reason. And so it becomes one of those, like, well, now what do I do? And it's like, I don't want to be reliant on other people for my happiness, especially when it's within me to do it myself.
Yeah, I love that.
I'd rather just learn the tools in order to get me there than have somebody else walk me through it every time.
Yeah. And did you feel like there was a difference, like, or what was the difference to you between having like a therapist and like some sort of medication to kind of try to balance whatever imbalance was going on versus learning self-healing tools that you learned in my program?
I think that when I was on medication and working with my therapist, that was what I needed at that point in time. I needed the medication in order to level me out to where I could listen to what it was they were trying to say. Because I was an extremely defensive person, because I felt like I was being attacked about everything. And so because I was feeling that way, I didn't take criticism well. I didn't take direction well. I didn't hear what mentors or people who cared for me were trying to tell me, because I was going to do it all myself.
Yeah. No, and that makes total sense. I went through phases like that too. And the healing journey really it's unique to everybody. And so basically you feel like it was what you needed in that moment. And then moving forward, you just kind of maybe intuitively knew that something else was the direction to go for. And then you kind of crossed this more like holistic self-healing, like you were finally ready to accept that kind of guidance and take direction and take charge of yourself.
Taking responsibility of myself rather than using crutches. Yeah,
perfect. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because it really is, some people don't really maybe understand what level or not, I don't want to say level, but what point of the journey that they're on. So that makes total sense, and I love that you shared that. So now that we've been working together for going on about 6 months, like things started, like after that first month and we got you going, you were experiencing monumental change within that second month going on to that third month. So, and now we're just kind of continuing the process. I know you're doing my Reiki course because that's going to help take you into this new level and new experience that you're going on for your career and stuff. So we're just continuing to work together basically for advancement purposes. And like, there's still like, obviously some like trauma is not one of those things that you overcome in one day. Right. So
fortunately not.
It's just one of those things, like we're still working together for advancement and mastery and things like that. So, but you've got a lot of that foundation in there, which has changed like the immediate experience in your life, which is amazing. So can you tell me a little bit or tell us a little bit about what you are experiencing now? Like, what's your mindset now? What kind of behaviors are you doing now? Like what's different? What's changed?
Well, I'm much more established in my routines, I guess. I've found a way to kind of ritualize them so that it's it's part of who I like. If I don't get those things, I'm like, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
And people know it. So it's I've also gotten a lot better about maintaining my boundaries.
Wonderful.
Like, it was one of those things that like I would establish them but then wouldn't reinforce them. So it's like I would say something about, hey, this is something I need, and then someone would stomp all over it, and I'd just be like, well, that didn't work. But now it's like I say something about a need that I have, and I'm be like, no, this is, I told you I needed this, so you encroaching on this is not okay, and it needs to stop.
Wonderful.
So that's definitely a major change for me, because that's not something I've ever been good at doing. And I'm still, oh my goodness, my cat keeps trying to jump up on the table and she keeps falling. But that's just speaking up for myself is something that I've never been good at. And I think partly because when I was a child, my dad told me that I needed to not be so bossy, instead of teaching me how to establish my boundaries, essentially, and saying this is something that I need, and instead of saying it in a bossy way, which is what I was doing, he basically took that away from me and made it to where I couldn't voice my opinion because I was being too bossy. It's like, no, I'm not being bossy. I'm just saying what I need, but okay, you're right.
Right. Like, let's talk about some communication skills instead of like taking our voice away. Right. But at the same time, our parents, they just did the best that they could. He probably didn't know how to teach you how to do any communication skills. So I mean, it sucks that you went through that, but at the same time, he probably was just doing all he knew how to do. So it's okay, Dad. We forgive you.
It's okay. I've probably forgiven him for that one, but it's one of those things that like I recognize as I've become an adult, in like seeing things from a different perspective, I guess, recognizing faults that I had as a child that have followed me into adulthood. But I'm like, well, if we just reframe this, it's an okay thing, but it needs to be in the right frame. And so trying to reframe those habits to where they're a good thing rather than being a negative thing has been also a really big thing for me to
that's one of the main tools that you learn, because that's the only, like, in my opinion, like I obviously, like, I consider myself like a guru. I'm a meditation energy instructor, like these things, right? I love that, but there's some meditation instructors or gurus or holistic healers of sorts that are just like, release it, out with the old, in with the new, let go of what no longer serves you. And I'm just like, but what if the things that we feel don't serve us actually do, and we just need to learn to love and accept it differently? And that's where I come in. I'm just like, let's love this thing so hard, because
embrace the shadow.
Yeah, like, embrace the shadow. Don't release it. It makes you. Like, we just need to see it differently. And that's like, I feel like my program is just a big old meditative shadow work program. But absolutely. I feel like it's a very unique approach to shadow work, because I've done a lot of shadow work, and it wasn't a lot of the stuff that I teach, but it did I'm thankful for what I went through with the shadow work that I did, because it gave me the inspiration combined with my meditation to create more integrative processes that are easier to digest, I feel like, instead of like write about all your anger and absorb it, and then, or just try to release it and act like it never happened. I try to like make a baby with the two.
I mean, you really do. You have to have both, because I mean, you do need to get all that anger out so that you're not holding it in, but you can't just let it go. Like, it's
you can't just like,
you have to experience it and feel it and get through it, rather than it's very much like in Inside Out. And Sadness is telling Joy at the end about how she was super sad that she missed the goal, and then all of her friends showed up and she was happy again. She had to get through being sad about the fact that she missed that goal in order to appreciate her team coming in and supporting her and her being so happy again.
Right.
Like you can't just let go of the anger or the sadness. You can't just try to pretend like it doesn't exist. You can't keep sadness in a little circle and say this is the ring of sadness and that's the only place sadness gets to be. That's
right.
not how emotions work.
Exactly. We've got to embrace them, accept them, and experience them, and then they'll just kind of go on their merry way. They won't hang around. They won't absorb you or consume you or anything like that. Yes, I love that. So were there some things that you learned during your time together? Like, is there like a tip or a phrase or something specific that you learned that changed the game or really helped, you found the most helpful in this transformation experience?
Well, one phrase or mantra, I guess, that I stick with a lot is trust the journey. But I think for me, it's more trust your journey, not the journey, trust your journey, because everybody's journey is different. And so it's like, if I'm just trusting the journey, it seems less specific. Yeah, exactly. Then and then you get into comparison and that's not where you want to be. But if I trust my journey or my process, then it changes my perspective on what it is that I'm trusting in. But the other phrase that really got to me too was the make the goal so small, it's stupid not to do it.
Yes.
Like that, I think I've written down like 4 or 5 times in my notes as I've gone through the different videos and whatnot, because it keeps sticking out to me every time I hear it. I'm just like, well, if I keep writing that down, that's obviously something that's working for me. So I think, trying to acknowledge that it's only 5 minutes or it's only 10 minutes. It's not that long. It's not going to, take away from whatever else it is that I'm wanting to do right now. But if I get started, I might keep going. And so acknowledging that 5 minutes and just taking that and just being like, you know what, stupid not to spend 5 minutes on this. And so I do it. And then before I know it, it's been a half hour and I'm like, where did the time go?
Yep. And you were just being super productive and you got to cross a lot of the things you wanted to do off your list. And then that makes your mood and energy go up. And then you're just like, heck yeah.
Killing it today.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Were there any shifts that you made during our time together? Were there anything like an energetic shift, if you will, or just, in the way you treat yourself maybe, or show up in your relationship to yourself? Was there anything like that happened that maybe you weren't expecting to happen during our time together?
I'm not sure if there was one that I wasn't expecting, if that makes sense, but because I was expecting there to be a positivity influx, and I'm not like a super bubbly, happy all the time kind of person. I'm pretty mellow most of the time, but when I get excited about something, I think that's the biggest thing, is that I found my passion. I figured out what it is that I want to do with my life, and I know where I want to go now. And so that, I suppose, is probably my biggest shift.
Yeah.
Recognizing where I want to go and what I need to do in order to get there. And then also how I treat other people especially while I'm at work. I try to be really respectful and really compassionate of people who come in grumpy, because I work in retail and we get a lot of grumpy people who come through our store that are just either having a bad day, or the gas pump's not cooperating, or it's just, and just recognizing that, you know what, they're probably just having a bad day. Maybe they're hungry.
Yeah. And
go grab a Snickers. Like,
I love that you notice how you are showing up to strangers. Like you're noticing the shift of how you show up externally. And I think I love that you share that, because when we were chatting just right before we got started, you had mentioned an internal shift with how you've learned to give yourself more grace, and you're being more compassionate with yourself when you're having a bad day or when you're feeling like you need some rest. And that is a literal, like right there, that is an explanation of, if you can do something for yourself, the ability to do it for others and externally project it into your external experiences, the capability is there, and it starts from what you're doing from within. Because if you are having trouble being patient or compassionate to strangers or others, it's probably because there wasn't a lot of patience or compassion for yourself. Remember, we talked about that inner critic. You know, she's not necessarily gone, but again, we don't want her to go anywhere. She's our motivator.
She
but
keeps us safe.
right, she keeps you safe, she protects you, she motivates you. I mean, at least that's her intention. She might not, she might make you mad, but her intention is to motivate you, right? And protect you. So we don't want her to go anywhere, but we're experiencing her differently now. So now we have this balance between work and rest, and we're not being so hard on ourselves about it. And we're able to be productive. We're able to relax. We're able to go through the highs and lows of life, because that's life. Like that's not going to change. We're not going to experience some sort of level of perfection or like never have a bad day or a stressful moment ever again. It's how we react, and it's how we deal with those strangers that are grumpy, and it's how we deal with ourselves when we're grumpy, right? And it's those things that change, right? So that's wonderful. I love that you said that. Awesome. And is there any tips or any advice that you've gained from this process? Essentially, think back, if you could go to yourself when you were in that hard time of like no direction, things of this nature, right? And you were just feeling that low mood and energy. Is there anything that you've learned from between now and then that if anybody was in those shoes that you were in a few months ago, what would you like if you could hear something? What would you share or say?
I'd say trust your journey. Trust that you're where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and just keep going. It's not about how many times you fall down. Then there are like so many cliches that are just coming to my mind right now, but it's not about how many times you fall down. It's about how many times you get back up. And it's what you do when you get back up. It's you got to keep going.
Yep. I love it. And I know, like, it's so funny. Sometimes like our future self or our higher selves, or it's like if we do a meditation where we go and chat with our inner child, right? It's like sometimes that present adult or future self or whatever it is, right? That's all they can say. And it just makes you feel better. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, right? Like I think back to like my hardest time in life, if I would have just said, just trust the process, I would have probably punched myself.
Well, I think because
it's what we need. It's really what we need. And like, we might not, sometimes I remember having like tarot readings or things like that. And like my future self would tell me something and I would just be like, what the hell does that mean? I don't get it. And then like, here I am now, it's like, or it's like a few weeks later or a month later, something happens and I'm just like, oh my God, that's what she was talking about. That's what she was telling me.
Yep. That's happened to me too. Or it's like, I'll watch one of the trainings and then something will literally fall into my lap that makes me practice whatever it was that you taught me. I'm just like, okay, universe, I'm listening.
I love that so much. And I can just feel it. I know, because like the universe would not allow me to put my program out there until it was universe approved. And like, I knew that it was because this is not mine. This is the universe coming through me for everybody else. So it couldn't be me. It couldn't be me, or it would have been like ego and my opinions and things like that. And so I couldn't move forward with this program until the universe had a full stamp of approval on it. And I was just like, yeah. So now it's like, I love, like I get to see, because it's so unique to you. Your process, your journey, it's so yours. You're right. It's your journey. And I love that I was able to somehow put together something that could be so universally unique and specialized to people specifically. Like, it has nothing to do with me. Like, and that's one of the, I'm so proud. Like, it's mine. And I'm just like, it's not me. I'm not doing any of it. I'm just the facilitator here. Like, I love it. Like, I'm just like, I just provide the information and I keep you motivated.
Yep.
That's it. Like, that's my job here. You're doing the rest, and I'm just making sure that you do it and you have fun. You have fun doing it, because it's hard work. And so I am really, really proud of you, because I know it's challenging. It can be emotional. We're gonna have our highs and our lows, but you freaking did it. And I loved your energy shift from that first month to like the second and third month, and like even just now. Like, it's just huge. It's just huge to see, because like you're still the same person, but it's like your pores and everything has just been like awakened, you know. It's just like everything is awake and open, whereas like it's just a closed versus open energy shift that I can sense it anyways, because I saw it kind of happen. Right. So I love that. So yes, that's all I've got. That's all the questions that I have for you today. Is there anything that you'd like to share? Anything else that you'd like to share?
I'm super excited about the Reiki program and about continuing to level up all my different tools that I've already got in my foundation, and just getting deeper into it and figuring it all out. I'm just
Yay. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off this live, but Corey, stay on with me. Don't go anywhere. But we'll see you guys next week. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that she shared some tips. I know that discipline tip that she shared that I taught in the class, that was a huge one for me too, with just being able to get the little things that I wanted to do, like read more or more yoga or more meditation or whatever it is. Just make the goal so small that it's almost stupid if you don't do it. Like it just makes it so much easier. So if you're having some productivity issues, take that and run with it. I hope that it helps. And I'm sure she dropped a lot more that I'm not mentioning right now. But I hope that this was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.